Hello, everyone. The last talk, cake afterwards. I'll try and keep it succinct, but if you stay with me, if you're really good, I might show you a cartoon at the end. All right, be on your best behavior. I'd like to talk to you about creativity. Quick show of hands. Who here is creative? Okay, quite a few. Some people aren't creative here. Is that right? When I spoke to the guys about talking about creativity, I put together a title about 2 months ago, and completely forgot what it was. And so when I asked Liz what it was a couple of days ago, she told me I was going to talk about the myth of creativity. I thought, yeah, that sounds about right to me. When you think about a myth, a story, a traditional story that we take as history, just like Ali said earlier, the stories that we tell ourselves that we believe to be true, that we believe to be fact, that aren't actually based in any kind of reality. I think there is a myth around creativity, and that myth is that some people are creative and some people aren't. I don't believe that's true. And that's what I'd like to address, and that's what I continue to address with my clients working as a coach, but with myself as a creative person. I think that there's a really important distinction to be made between what we create and the act of creativity. And growing up, I was always drawing. I was always designing, sketching things. I saw myself as a creative person, and I saw myself as different to other people. I thought I was creative and some people weren't. I was caught up in a misunderstanding about it. I thought it was something I did. I thought it was a talent that I had that not many other people had. But I see now that that was a misunderstanding. And as Liz beautifully said earlier, when you live in a misunderstanding, some things make sense and some things don't. And we've heard a few stories about that today. The misunderstanding of thinking we live in the Earth was the center of the solar system, had some implications that we couldn't quite work out until we saw the truth. My own little story, when I was younger, I used to play a video game with a friend of mine, a football video game. This was 30 odd years ago. It was on a Commodore 64. So it was, we loved it. We loved the game. At the beginning, there was loads of pages you had to click through, formations of the football team, strategies, statistics of the players. But we didn't want any of that. We'd get to the game, click, 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 right away through to the game. But yeah, because it was 30 odd years ago, the graphics weren't very good, and the controls weren't very responsive, let's say. So whilst we were playing the game, we would find inconsistencies that we couldn't work out. We would have a player that would be going through on goal, and we would want him to shoot towards the top of the goal, and he would shoot straight forward. And we couldn't work out why this was. We practiced everything. We thought the joystick wasn't working right, because it was a time when joysticks were like this, not like this. We thought the joystick wasn't working, so we changed it. That didn't work. We thought that we just didn't have the right movement and button, pressing it at the same time. We really practiced that a lot. Didn't make any difference. We thought maybe you move, then press the button. Didn't work. There was this inconsistency. We were trying our best. We loved the game, but it was frustrating. And after a while, we kept losing, and we got annoyed. Sometimes we would have success. Sometimes it would work, and we'd be delighted, and we think, yes, nailed it. We can score. And then sometimes it wouldn't work, and I lost it. Not working anymore. Just before we gave up on the game, we thought we'd read the instructions. We're men, after all. And we found out the game was called Football Manager. Turns out that all of the pages at the front that we clicked through, that was the game. And that what we thought we were playing was the simulation. Simulation based on the decisions that we were supposed to have made. We weren't controlling anything. Nothing. We were watching a video. Furiously trying to control it, wondering why. Why did you just pass that way? I didn't want you to pass that way. You're doing it wrong. I'm trying, my artist. It was at that point that we had, someone mentioned it earlier, they went, one of those moments. Oh, that makes sense. So then we started paying attention to the pages at the front, selecting our formation, and then watching the simulation. And we started doing well. Team started winning, surprisingly. We understood what was going on. It made all the difference. And that is very much the experience of my life up to about 4 or 5 years ago, on a number of different levels, but particularly in my career, from drawing all my life. I found my way into art and design, went to university, studied interior architecture, went into retail design, started designing shops. The more I progressed in my career, the more I started having higher level branding discussions. I ended up being a design director for a branding agency. But I was operating within that misunderstanding of what my creativity was. I was operating on the level that I thought I did it. I thought it was a talent that I had. I thought I was responsible for it. And just like the game, it was inconsistent. Sometimes it would work. Sometimes I would have great ideas. Sometimes everything would work out and I would produce work that everybody thought was amazing and I thought was amazing. But sometimes it didn't come. Sometimes I couldn't come up with the ideas. And in those times it was really difficult. And it was quite stressful. Because I told myself that's what I was, in terms of that's my talent, that's who I am. I'd built my whole identity around being a creative person, a creative type. I'm a designer. But what does that say about me when I can't design? So I would go through these periods of thinking I was amazing, thinking I've got it nailed and this is great, and I would go through periods of just being in despair because I put so much on it. My livelihood was dependent on it. And as Joachim so beautifully said earlier, when you put so much on something and it's not going well, that creates a very stressful situation. And so like Peter, I studied the hell out of it. And like Liz was saying, I tried to get every ingredient, every design ingredient for my toolkit so that I would be prepared for every situation. And it burnt me out completely. I came across this understanding. And I had one of those, I had one of those moments. Not straight away. Not straight away. But over time, more and more things started to make sense. The reason that ideas would pop into my head, sometimes, great ideas, fully formed, great concepts, was because I wasn't doing that. It was an implication of my state of mind. It was an implication of being in that calm space. It was an implication of being at a place where I wasn't taking my moment-to-moment thoughts too seriously. I wasn't holding on to anything. And therefore, in that space, ideas pop in. Great ideas. And then when it wasn't working, I realized I was caught up in my thinking. I wasn't present. I wasn't in the moment. And the great ideas that were potentially there were being blocked by thoughts of deadlines, identity. What does this mean about me? I'm rubbish. I'm a fraud. I'm only one design job away from being seen as a fraud. I thought that. Lucked out so far. 16 years of luck. Next project might be the one. And I love what Peter said. Are you at home with yourself, or are you away with your thinking? The correlation between design, my creativity coming to me and not, was whether I was at home or whether I was away with my thinking. And the relationship between those two things aren't a bad thing. Because in that quiet space, when I would have a great idea, I would then go away with that idea. You know, that's what design is. Great idea. What do I do with it? How do I make it real? How do I express it? How do I bring it out into the world? That's a great relationship. So we can't always be at home. We shouldn't want to be. But we have to recognize when we're home more than not. And the reason the distinction between those two things is important is because when we're away with our thinking, when we're creating those wonderful stories. We need to bring it back home. We need to bring it back home for them to come again. Sometimes I got carried away too much with stale, old ideas that I was regurgitating, you know. So what I really saw for myself was that in each moment, if I would get carried away with my thoughts, when I would get carried away with my thinking, when I would go away with my thinking of deadlines, pressures, ideas, identity, then I wouldn't be at home and I wouldn't be having that creative idea. But what's beautiful about it is when you go away with your thinking, someone said, it's like pushing them uphill. And when you stop pushing, or a ball uphill, when you stop pushing it, it will roll back down. It's our default. It's our default. We roll back down to that place. And I saw then that my ideas came to me not because I could draw. It's because I'm a human being. And the myth and the misunderstanding was that people mistake creativity for what you do, how you express. Artists, musicians, poets, people think they're the creative ones. No. We're all creative because we all have the ability to have fresh thinking in the moment. From that space, great ideas come for everybody. 100% of the time we have that capability, that possibility. When we choose to express that, that's what we put into form. But we mistakenly call the form creativity, and I want to get rid of that word. I want people to see that the ability in a clear mind to have a relevant idea that is appropriate to your situation is available to everybody. And I've seen it for myself. It's fundamentally changed everything that I do. I saw this so powerfully, I wanted to work with people to help them see it for themselves. And so I thought, right, I'm going to leave the design industry behind, I'm going to become a coach. Because that's how you share this message. I kept having these ideas. I kept talking to people like Elizabeth. She would tell me about her project, and I would then just get so into it. I'm like, well, no, wait. This is what you're telling me. I saw that to share this message, you don't have to just be a coach. And my natural skill and desire to communicate visually, I couldn't leave the design industry behind because I just love it. So I get involved with people like Elizabeth, and we talk, and I try and help find ways to visually communicate what she's saying. And I work with people like the Innate Health Centre in London, Terry and Brian Rubenstein, and they're doing wonderful work trying to put a curriculum together to share this understanding with kids. So I'm doing illustrations and animations for them. I used to build shops, so I thought my creativity was only expressed through shops. Turns out I can draw pictures and do illustrations. And then one day on Facebook, a friend of mine who I met in LA, Stephanie Fox, posted up something on Facebook saying, hey, I'd love to do a cartoon for kids to share this understanding. These are some of my ideas. And I got so carried away with that I got in touch. And the next thing I knew, without thinking, we were brainstorming, and we got together with myself, Stephanie, Mohammed, who's in Gaza, Stephanie is in Tel Aviv, Sami is in Gaza, Christian is in Norway, I'm in London, and we're a team that are putting this little guy together. It's a 1.5 minute clip, so I'm going to slightly over, but yeah. This is Curious. He's a dragonfly. Curious is in a neutral space right now. And in that neutral space, thoughts pop up. And without really thinking about them too much, he just acts on them. Natural. And now he's in that void again, that calm space. And what happens? Another thought pops up. But this one he likes. This one he likes. He gets attached to this one. And this one is creating a nice warm feeling in his tummy. And whilst he's feeling that and thinking that hangs around. Affects his behavior. But eventually, that thought pops. He thinks about something else. Something else pops up. Oh, don't like this one. this might mean something. Maybe I'm in danger. Maybe something's wrong. Got a really bad anxious feeling in my tummy. How do I get rid of it? What does it mean? Feelings coming from thought. No problem. Back again to that neutral space. Ideas, creativity, popping up. We're all creative. Every single one of us. We all have the capacity to be in that space, have new ideas come through that are relevant. How we then choose to execute them is individual and unique to us. But what's common is the fact of that. Thank you.